Over the last few weeks I've been using the Ricoh Theta S. It's a compact digital camera that can take 360-degree stills by using the fisheye lenses that are located on either side of the case. In many ways it's perhaps the most convenient and easy way to take good quality 360-degree images. It'll also take video, although that's to a much lesser quality, but I will show you samples of both the stills and the video during the course of this demonstration. I will also show to you the difficulty I was having with sharing these images with you, and the difficulty you would have with sharing them with anyone else. It's easy enough to take them, but then what do you do with them once you've taken them? The software that comes with this isn't particularly easy to handle. I'm going to talk about some of the problems that I've had during the course of making this video, and I'm also going to share with you some hints and tips, such as you might think about getting one of these if you get one of these. This is a monopod, and to be able to take the best quality images you really want to get the camera away from your hand. I'll show you why later on, but with a monopod you can of course put the camera up above your head like that, although that in turn also introduces some extra issues. So I'll talk about those during the course of the video. I'll say we'll have some video clips that you can look at, some photo stills, and in the video description you'll also have links to some downloadable samples and some online samples that you can view. But without any further ado, let's get on with the video itself. The Ricoh Theta S comes in a rather unimpressive cardboard box, inside which you'll find the bare minimum, which consists of a neoprene sleeve, a quick start guide, a USB A to micro B lead, and of course the camera itself. That quick start guide has multiple languages in it. You'll only get about 10 pages for each of those languages, and the information contained therein is really just the bare minimum. There is of course a full guide available online. The protective sleeve that comes with the camera is very useful because you'll see the lenses on the top of the device stick out from the edges. If you were to lay it down on a surface you would scratch those, so you'll have to put it back in the case after every time you use it. As you can see, two fisheye lenses, one either side, which will capture a full 360 degrees. On the top we've got a microphone and a speaker. They look like stereo mics, but one's a speaker and one's a microphone. And on the front here we've got a shutter button. So to switch it on, we'll press the button at the top here on the side, which is the power button. We've got power, Wi-Fi and mode buttons on the side there. As you can see, you've got an LED inside that, and on the front here we've got a few little indicators. There's an LED above the shutter button to say it's on, and then we've got the Wi-Fi indicator that's flashing and it shows it's in photo mode. I'll turn off the Wi-Fi by pressing the middle button. That's just trying to connect, and we don't need to use that right now. And then the bottom button lets you alternate between the photo or video modes. But let me just take a couple of stills for a second. As far as I'm aware, you can't switch that sound off at the moment anyway, unless they add it in a firmware update. Now notice I'm trying to change into the video mode and it won't let me at the moment. It's flashing. The reason is because it's still processing the photo I just took. But now it's finished, it'll let me go into the video mode. So let's start the video recording. Again, press the shutter button. You can see here we get the red light flashing all the time the camera is recording video. And then of course, obviously, if you want to stop it recording, you just press that shutter button again. And finally, to conclude our tour around the camera, you can see it's a sleek device. There's not much else on it, but on the base we've got a micro USB socket. That's for charging and of course getting the photos and video off the device. And on the right hand side we've got a micro HDMI, more about that later on. And then in the middle, of course, the important tripod screw mount. Now, due to those two protruding fisheye lenses, you've got to be particularly careful with this device. There will be times when you want to put it down on a surface like this to take a remote shot using the Wi-Fi app. But if you do that, be very careful. It isn't going to fall sideways if someone knocks the table. No, it's going to fall onto one of those lenses, which could potentially damage your device. So the narrow shape is good for a pocket, but whoops, not particularly good for standing up on a table. Now, the camera is quite reliant on its apps that are available for iOS or Android, but it can be used without those with a computer, so I'll show you that first. So I've taken some photos and video, I'm bringing it back, plugging it into my Mac. Now, on a Mac, it will try and import those photos and video into iPhoto. Don't let it do that because it'll ruin the videos. It tries to convert them into something that you can't use. So instead, use image capture. That'll just import them as they are without trying to do any kind of weird conversion on them. So we've got all the photos and video on the device here. So let's just drag a video across, put it on the desktop to show you what it looks like. Now notice it takes quite a while to import it, but we'll just fast forward a little bit because we can't be waiting around while this is going on. And I just want to show you what it looks like. So that's what the video looks like when it's viewed just normally as a video. We've got the two different lenses, as you can see, two different sensors side by side. So we need this app, this Ricoh Theta app. So once you've downloaded that, it turns up on your desktop like that, drag the video onto that, it then tries to convert the video into a format where it stitches those two different images together. So again, bit of conversion going on here. We can't wait around all day, but look at the time at the top right. You can see we've started converting this at 1336. We're now up to 1339 and it's still converting. So let's just have a look at the file itself, just see how long it actually is in length, the whole video. It's only 2 minutes 25 seconds, so it's taking quite a while to import this. But anyway, finally we've got it there now. It's imported. So let's have a look at this video. Now I'm able to pan around the image by using the mouse or the trackpad or cursor keys, and as you can see I can look all around the full 360 degrees. I can look up, I can look down, everywhere, and it's very well stitched together. You don't notice any particular join between the two lenses. If you look particularly closely you might be able to spot it, but generally you don't notice it. One thing you will notice, the image is a little bit soft. I'll explain more about that in a second, but just look at this weird effect here as I go around the corner. It looks like I'm tilting the camera. The camera is actually being held completely steady. What's happening is the camera has got an orientation sensor in it that's designed to keep your images upright. But as the G-forces in the vehicle are acting on that sensor, it feels like it's moving over and it's trying to tilt things, as you can see here as I accelerate away. But yes, the image quality is 1080p 30, 1920 by 1080p. Now that would normally look pretty sharp, but of course we're using that image resolution for the whole 360 degrees. So it does look pretty soft. Then again, it looks even worse if you come to share it on YouTube. You can view 360 degree videos on YouTube in certain browsers, but as you can see here, if I flip back and forth between them, the YouTube video looks a lot softer than the original one did. Now I'll just pan it over so you can see where the left-hand mirror is, right at the edge of the image. And notice you can see an awful lot less on YouTube than you can on the original video. And that's because YouTube for some reason zooms in on the video, whereas the original one is a lot more back, which unfortunately you can't zoom in and out on YouTube. So sharing these video files on YouTube isn't great. It really reduces the quality down and doesn't do them any justice. Anyway, let's have a look at another video I took here in one of my usual haunts. And as I zoom in on this image, you'll see that it is pretty soft in image quality, but again you've got to give it some leeway because we're using a 1920 by 1080 resolution for the full 360 degrees. So what you lose in image quality you gain in flexibility, able to pan around the image. Of course I'm in shot there and there's no way I could really get out of shots without leaving the camera unattended and operating it over Wi-Fi. So if you like being in all your photos or images, then this is a great camera for you. Personally, I'd rather somehow have the shot without me in it, but we'll go on more about that a little bit later on. Now, as well as video, of course, the camera mostly takes stills, and that's where it really shines. So video, a little bit soft, but let's have a look at some stills that we took with the camera. Now the video definitely comes secondary to the stills. The stills are where this camera really shines. Excellent quality, which you're not going to be able to see on YouTube because of course this video is going out in 1080p. These are, I think, 14 megapixel stills. Now of course again that's spread out over your whole 360 degrees, but they are really quite sharp. Again, of course, I'm in pretty much all these shots and that's pretty much unavoidable if you're going to be holding the camera in your hand. And if you hold it to your side, you'll find that you're taking up quite a large portion of each image. So you do these things where you start looking away from the lens and trying to look nonchalant and things. Anyway, let's zoom in a little bit here and have a look at the quality. I'm very happy with that. You can't compare it, of course, with a normal camera just taking a still in that direction. You've got to bear in mind I've got a full 360 degrees here and I'm zooming in on a portion of it, but it does look quite impressive to me. And it's very hard to see the stitching. Anyway, here I am looking the opposite way to the camera, pretending I'm Mr. Nonchalant, but one thing you will tend to get in pretty much all images you take, if you hold it in your hand, of course, is your hand in shot. Somehow it stitches out the camera, but your hand tends to take up quite a large portion of the bottom of each image, which is a little bit of a shame. You can, however, get some really interesting shots with this. Of course, you wouldn't use this camera to take all your holiday shots, but the odd shot here and there, you can get some very interesting
interesting stuff. It's just a shame that the hand tends to take up a little bit too much of each image.
So despite the fact that the camera looks like it's designed so that you can take your photos by putting your thumb on here and just holding it up in the air, your hand does tend to take up quite a large proportion of the bottom of the image if you use it that way. And that's why I used a monopod for the best shots I took. Now, using a monopod, especially one like this, where you can extend it quite a long way up above your head, enables you to get a good shot with just you right at the bottom. You'd really have to sort of pan down to see the person that's taken the picture. But of course that means I can't reach the button, the shutter button on the camera itself, and therefore I have to use the Wi-Fi app. Now, I find connecting up over Wi-Fi a bit of a pain, to be honest. It's a matter of connecting to the right Wi-Fi hotspot, turning it on the camera, waiting for it to connect up, and finally it connects. You can press the shutter button and then you switch everything back off again, so you can go and do another shot somewhere else. Or you leave it on all the time, which of course runs down the power on both your devices. I've got another solution for Ricoh. How about they have, rather than using the Wi-Fi app, you could have a delay on the shutter button. I've seen this on other cameras and it seems to work well. It could be something that could be configured within the Wi-Fi app, but once you've configured it, the camera could remember to take a photo only after a 5-second delay. So for example, you'd press the shutter button, it'd start flashing on here, you know, you've got long enough to get it up in the air, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, snap, takes your picture and bring it back down again. No need to connect up to your phone if you were to do it that way. It seems like a very simple thing that they could implement.
Let's have a look at a few different ways of holding the camera. Obviously, if you hold it at your side, you're pretty much taking a selfie as well as having your hand in shot. If you hold the camera up above your head, there's much less of you in the shot and there's still a hand there at the bottom, but it doesn't take up too much of the image, although it can be a little bit distracting to pan around and see a little baldy man down at the bottom of all your images. So it's much better off holding the camera up on a monopod way above your head. You can see there's not much of me at the bottom there, and I'm able to pan all the way around the image without really getting in shot. To find a little weird baldy man, you definitely have to make a concerted effort to pan down, but overall you can get a pretty decent panorama without him being in shot. Now, as you can see, I've got the monopod in this image here, and one thing you do have to bear in mind if you are going to be taking shots by holding a monopod up above your head using the phone app to activate the shutter, you are going to get some pretty strange looks from passers-by. Everyone wants to know what you're doing. You're standing in the middle of a public space, you're holding a stick up above your head, and you're taking pictures, and people basically look at you like you've lost the plot. In the past, I've taken pictures in all these places, even on tripods, and no one's given it a second glance. But stand in the middle of the road, hold your arm up above your head, and you're guaranteed that someone's going to want to know what you're doing. And in some of the places, I've even had security guards come over to me. Guards that haven't come over to me when I've used every other kind of camera. So if you don't like drawing attention to yourself, and you're a bit of a shrinking violet, you might not want to use a 360-degree camera. But one thing you will get if you do use one are some really good, interesting images that you can't get with any other device. So it's a bit of a trade-off. Right, now let's have a look at this app. I've loaded it up on my iOS device, and you have to switch on the camera, of course, and you connect up by using Wi-Fi. Once you've connected up to the Wi-Fi hotspot that the camera's created, load up the app, and then you're able to go into the settings and things, of course, as well as in here you'll find the full guide. It's online, but if you click through there, you'll get to the full user guide, which gives you quite a bit more information than you get in the little quick start guide that's included in the box. The app enables you to get a live viewfinder image from the camera, which you can pan around just like you could with the stills you've taken. And also you can go into the panorama mode, which enables you to see the full image in one long strip. In the app, there's quite a few more things that you can do with the camera than you can if you don't connect it up. For example, you can get into interval photography mode. If you switch that on, you can take stills, but they are restricted down to a minimum interval of 8 seconds because, of course, it has to process each image after it's taken it. Now, you can adjust the image resolution. I've taken all my stills at the highest resolution for the best quality, but for some reason you could reduce that down if you wanted to. And then there are a surprising number of options available that you'd normally associate with a normal camera. You can do things like shutter priority, adjust the ISO, adjust the white balance, I wasn't really expecting all those things for a camera like this, and to be honest I think it might be a little bit of overkill because I wouldn't want to go through all those different settings and try them all out. In fact, I haven't really tried any of these things out, including the HDR mode, which might be something that's worth playing around with. Now when you've got the camera connected up to the app, you're able to use this remote shutter to take these stills, which is how I was able to take those stills whilst holding that monopod up above my head. You can see it takes a few seconds before it'll let you take the next one because that's the processing time, and of course you can go into the video mode here as well. It will let you change the video down to a lower resolution of 720p, but I'd probably recommend against that because the 1080p was quite soft enough, thank you. Now the main reason why someone would connect up to this app is of course to get the video and stills off the camera itself. If you connect up to the camera, you can see these round thumbnails. Those are the images that are held on the camera itself. Now you can view any of those by clicking on them. It'll take a couple of seconds to transfer across. As you can see here, you can pan around them with the thumb. It feels a much more natural way to view an image by dragging your thumb around on the screen. Once you've copied the images across to the phone itself, you get these square thumbnails and these load straight away, and as you can see here I'm able to pan around. They look better I think in portrait mode on the phone than they do in landscape because you don't see as much of a fisheye bulge. If you put the phone on its side, everything seems to curve in towards the middle, so this is one of those few occasions that viewing a photo in vertical mode is actually better than viewing it in horizontal mode, in my opinion. Anyway, you can see this image here. If I pan around here, these walls look pretty straight I suppose, but as soon as I put the phone on its side, everything looks a little bit further away of course, but much more kind of like you're looking out of the inside of a ball at everything. Copying across a load of stills at once or even a single video can take quite a while over Wi-Fi, and therefore it's worth doing it either on a fully charged device or plugging the device into a charger at the same time as you're transferring. For example, this video is probably going to take 10 minutes to copy across. Another thing worth bearing in mind, in the app there's a notification section. In there it'll tell you about firmware updates that are available for the device, but unfortunately you're unable to update the firmware through the app. The only way to do it is through a Windows or a Mac computer, which might be a problem for some people. Let's get back to the subject of sharing images. So you've taken an image you're happy with, you want other people to be able to see it. Now to do this you'll upload the image to theta360.com. To do that on an iOS device, click at the top right, click share, and then it asks you to log in, but with a Facebook or a Twitter sign on. It doesn't have its own login credentials, so if you don't have a Facebook or a Twitter account, you can't share it on Theta360. Luckily I do have a Twitter account, so I'm going to show you on the desktop how you share a file. So drag it into the desktop app here, get that out of the way. You can have a look around, just check you're happy with the image first of all, then go up to the top and click post. Now under the picture itself you can have some comments that will show, so you can type those into this box if you want. You can have the photo public or unlisted, and if you want you can put a hashtag on it. So we'll just type something into the comment box here. You can leave this blank if you want, but once you click post it will upload the file to theta360.com. I'll fast forward a little bit so we don't have to wait. And then once it's uploaded it'll give you a link. You can share that link over Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, etc. But you can also copy and paste it and then just email that to somebody. Now if they click on that link it'll take them through to the Theta website where they can view the image, they're able to scroll around it, zoom in and out, all those kind of things. Now as the person that's uploaded these images, below it I've got this button here that says embed. If I click on that I get some code that I can put on my website which will embed the image into there, and I can have it autoplay, which means it'll just scroll around slowly as well. Now here's a gallery of all my images. If we look at the top of the screen we can see that that's the URL for those galleries, and I hope if I share that with you you'll be able to go in there and have a look at all the different images I've uploaded, and I'll put a link to that in the video description. One big letdown is video. Other than the quality, which is variable, you can only load in 50 megabytes worth of file size into this Theta gallery website. 50 megabytes is an 11-second long video. So I haven't found anywhere at the moment where I can upload a full length video. I've only got ones that are a couple of minutes in length, but I can't even upload that and have somebody view the video in full quality. All I've found so far is YouTube, which, as we saw earlier on, reduces the quality a bit. Another letdown is the fact that you can't batch upload photos to the Theta 360 site. You can put a few photos at once into the app, but when it comes to uploading, you've got to do them one at a time, which takes forever. Anyway, moving away from sharing images, I want to show you something unusual about the camera. You don't have to mount it this way up. You can have it that way or anywhere in between. I'll demonstrate it to you now in this mind-blowing video. And finally, I thought you might want to see this neat trick with the orientation sensor. You can see I can turn the camera upside down and the orientation sensor in the camera keeps the image the right way up. I think it was particularly weird how the camera seemed to disappear in those shots, but what I was trying to get across was the fact that you can mount the camera by its tripod whichever way up you want, so it doesn't really matter, which makes mounting it an awful lot easier. Now, I know I said that was the last thing. There are a couple more things. As far as the battery goes, it's built in, it's non-replaceable. I don't know how long it will last exactly, but it will get you through a day because you only take the occasional picture here and there with this camera. You don't use it to document your entire trip. As far as memory goes, again, built-in, non-expandable 8 GB, so when it's full, this red light will flash. As far as the micro HDMI port goes, I've got no idea why that's on the camera. I've been unable to get any signal to come out of it at all, and I'm a little bit surprised that there's no lanyard loop on the bottom of the camera to enable you to attach a wrist strap. There is an optional accessory available that can screw into the tripod screw mount to provide that loop, but that's a little bit inconvenient. So there you go, that's the Ricoh Theta S. I really love the 360-degree stills it does, great quality. The stitching is pretty impressive as well. Hard to see the joins most of the time. Only issue I've got, of course, is the video, a little bit soft, but there's really not much they can do about that because they're using 1080p 30. I think even if they use 4K, it would still look soft. I think you'd have to have 4K out of both lenses. And of course, that's a little bit down the line as far as technology goes, and of course that would make it pretty expensive as well. So if getting one of these, the video, a bit of a novelty, but I'd probably stick to the stills, especially given the fact that you can't really share the video very well either. And talking of sharing, the software itself, bit of a letdown all round. I think it just needs a complete shake-up, somebody to go back to the beginning and say, right, let's get this software working. We've got the camera working, we just need the software to live up to the quality of the camera. But overall, if you do want to get hold of the Ricoh Theta S, I can definitely recommend the image quality. You're just going to have to work a little bit if you want to get the best out of it. But that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.